Bhaumik. I know this name because of one of my student, uh, Mohan Raj. He attended the programs conducted by Dr. Bhaumik, and he used to tell about his teaching methodologies and his involvement about teaching R to the ecologists. Normally, sir, you may be aware, we biologists are poor mathematicians. I think that's why you took the biological component as a mathematician, and most of your papers are very interesting. And a brief introduction about today's resource person. He is Amya Ranjan Bhaumik. Actually, completed his PhD in the University of Calcutta. His specialization is modeling various aspects of ecology. So most of the time we ecologists try to model, but we never succeeded except a few times. But most of the papers published by Dr. Bhaumik is going to be very interesting. So I don't want to take much of the time since Dr. Bhaumik is constantly teaching and encouraging students like you to take up R as a tool to analyze ecological problems. He may be the most suitable person to teach you about R related to biodiversity or ecology, whatever may be the field. Sir, thank you, sir. I welcome you and handed over the session to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think you said that biologists are poor in mathematics. I think I'm not sure whether to use this word poor or not, but as a mathematicians also, like, we are indebted to the like biologists for coming up with so much of interesting problems and important problems, so that we get to know at least somewhere where we are applying the things. Because in principle, in most of the places when we sit with my mathematics collaborators and colleagues, they talk about whole lot of equations, which most many things. I said, okay, so what you are going to do with it? Only possibly solving it for fun. But here, I think I always get very nice interactions and lot of new things that I have learned from. So now almost all my collaborators are either for environmental science, zoology, botany, and so I rarely have now mathematics collaborators. So I truly enjoy, and thank you very much for this invitation, and thank you for all the wonderful works that you all have been doing. And I know that UGC Stride had been a very tough competition, very challenging, because a lot of applications, and when all the applications got submitted, the UGC chairman actually visited ICT for
Okay.
one of giving an oration, delivery lecture, and he specifically mentioned that this year UGC Stride applications had been tremendous. So, and we don't know how to select. So this specifically mentioned it, and I know that a couple of my collaborators also applied for it, but they did not get it. So
Okay.
congratulations, and we will definitely I'll give my best to so that this program becomes successful, and we can make an overall impact throughout.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you very much. So and welcome to thank you all the participants, please. So I first of all, I'm really sorry, because usually I'm more comfortable giving or interacting with all the participants in offline mode, so where I can see in the, each of the computers, and we can begin interactions where the individual problems are happening. So that's a very important thing. And when the gap, like, people possibly think I'm a poor mathematician or statistician, whatever it is, and on the other hand, you are afraid of us. So it's very challenging for me in this online mode, but I'll try my best to make you all comfortable, and of course, in the process, we'll mostly use we are going to use this software R, and I have shared a file just some 5-10 minutes back, so that file can be shared with all. But I think before going into that, we will take some a little bit of time to understand, or to get ourselves familiar with that. After that, we are going to talk about it. So the plan today is basically an introduction to R, and we will be talking about correlation, regression, and multiple regression as well. And tomorrow we will be taking up the multivariate methods. So sir has actually given me the task to talk on all the 3 days, like yesterday also. But unfortunately, I had a talk in University of Calcutta. There was a conference. But it is at the same time, 2:30 to 3:30. So yesterday I could not meet you all. But today and tomorrow, in both the days, I'll try my best to justice to all of your inquiries and what are the possible plans. And I think before that I had requested for the list of participants, which I always do before every workshop. So as I understand that various the mixed background is there. So ranging from postgraduate students to including some postdocs also are there. Some faculties members are also there. So first of all, let me just take you out, take you to the little bit of making you comfortable with this particular software R. So I'm just sharing my screen. I think you can see my screen, right? Hello, you can see?
Yes, sir, we can see this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so just before starting, just some basic checks. Is that you all have the R installed within your PCs?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. No problem. I'll just make probably just things very simple. So there is no complexity at all. Let me just share my entire screen. Okay, so I think this is just as this download R for Windows. If you just type download R, what is the first thing that comes up? And go over here and download R for Windows. So that's it. So this is the first step. So first you have to install R, and then basically you have to install R Studio. So everybody is having R Studio?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, great. So actually, initially, like before a couple of years, 3 years back, so we used to give like a complete guidelines. But now, what we are observing that it is becoming so popular, and so many people are using. People are already been into it. At least this software is installed in all the PCs. So that is also the reason I did not actually share any of the mod schedules, like this is what is to be covered, but the topics are being fixed. That is the correlation, regression, and PC, and some other possible multivariate methods that we will be talking about using R. Just before that, what we need to, so everybody is having this right, this R Studio, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, great. So if we go over here, so this plus sign, what we can see here, so you can see that a whole lot of options are there, that are script, notebook, markdown, web applications. So you can write down other codes also. You can write down your Python scripts also. Nowadays it's becoming very popular. Not that much popular till now in ecologies, but in other domains it's becoming very popular. And HTML presentation and art documentation. So this is a free software, but gives you a seamless flexibility in writing programs, and excellent packages are being available there. So before starting up with this technical session, so what I would really plan to give you kind of a demonstration, brief demo of like how with time this R is essentially moving. So let me just try to give you some kind of introduction. So as you can see that this is a guide to reproducible code in ecology and evolution. So, and I think this is very much related to the theme in this workshop that we are talking about. And this is the British Ecological Society. From their website, you can download it. I think a couple of years back, if I believe that before lockdown, which is the last workshop we had on workshop on our statistics for ecologists. I think at the time I did got it from British Ecological Society. Their website, it is there. So it is an. So if you can see that it's a programming tool, it's an Adventures with R. It is written by Sylvia Tipman. It's appeared in. So this is, as you can see that here, this number of domains, that agriculture and biological sciences, biochemistry, genetics, molecular biology. This including mathematics, neurosciences. So these articles which are citing are in terms of percentage, it is giving over there, and you see that it's an exponential growth in ecology. We know that population growth, that it's basically going like this. So it is still 2014 only. Now it has reached some higher here possibly. So it is definitely a huge sharp rise. And what we can observe easily that these biological sciences, they are actually in India and across the globe. In India also, it is being taken up very importantly, and lot of research papers which are coming up across ecology and evolution, environmental sciences, ecological modeling, ecological informatics. So these journals and many of the research papers that recently that I have reviewed, most of the papers are actually all the research, all the analysis has been done using R. So it is we are in the right track, and if we can actually understand it clearly, we are definitely going to be like it's a rocket. So with R, it is moving, a scientist is moving, and on. And why R basically? It's the way we do science is changing. So data are getting bigger. So that's why we are, as a mathematician, statisticians, we are really thankful to you all that you are providing such important and interesting and so much of challenging data, and lot of challenges that are coming up. So we really cannot imagine that when I talk to mathematicians, they said that imagine that if tiger is hunting a deer and it stops there. Immediately they set up a two sets of differential equations and solve it. And everything goes on imagination only or assumptions only. But the real question actually we need to put that, okay, what is happening in the field? What is our evidence is saying? So rather than putting a whole lot of assumptions, what is our this study must be made evidence based, and as a mathematicians also we should approach towards that. If time permits, tomorrow I'll give a little bit of idea about what something very much evidence-based study on biological invasion that what we are doing. I'll try my best to be more inquisitive, to create more inquisitiveness in you all. These analyses are getting more and more complex, and governments, funding agencies, and scientific method itself demand transparency and accountability in research. So every figure, wherever we are putting it, it is very much important that we need to, so that after 10 years or 15 years, anybody wants to reproduce that paper or that particular figure, he should be able to do it. So one way to deal with these changes is to make our research more reproducible, especially our code. So when you're saying that research reproducible means, as a quantitative scientist, I understand that the codes what I'm writing, that must be reproducible. So in our all the last research papers, whatever we have published, it is informatics, it is in environmental science and pollution research, and some of the research papers submitted in environmental science and policy, including Journal of Environmental Management. So I think everywhere we have ensured that every bit of piece of code is being provided in the supporting material. This is, I truly believe that it is certainly a definitely very strong good practice. So and really I really don't care that if after 5 years somebody found a mistake in that code, it's a good thing only, right? It is so I'll be more than happy to see that, yeah, oh, that's really nice that there is some mistake was there. So we are human beings. At least I have made myself extremely open about it. So we have a good intention. We are human beings. We are okay. We can make mistakes also. So if somebody says it, so I'll immediately rectify it, and whatever solutions could be provided, I'll give that. So these things is very much, and I think This is the article which especially is that research are more reproducible and especially our code. And ecology, quantitative ecology is mostly right now dominated by this particular software, which is R. And most of the R packages, whole lot of R packages are actually contributed by ecologists. So, and it's they made an excellent, super contribution into this field. So why basically R? It's an enhanced editor. So R Studio, many of you have experienced it. It's a very much powerful document generation using Markdown, HTML presentations, many things you can do. It has a very well documented help file, libraries, and now when we deal with a very large data, like suppose that geographic data, spatiotemporal data, or climate data, and everything. So some of the things we find that it is possibly better in R, and some of the functionalities we possibly find it in Python. So, but we are specializing using this software for a long time, so it is very difficult for us to change it. But one thing is for sure, R has made that practice very seamless in a sense that inside R itself, we can actually give call to other softwares, other functionalities from Python, and we can get it done. The same thing can be done in Python also. And this visualization, I think it is too good. So there is no way of visualizing it exceptionally well. So which are the other software that I have experienced are is exceptionally well in visualization. And of course, statistical mathematical concepts. These are this is my interest mainly in coming up with different which in other workshops also, previous workshop on for what we have done for biologists or for statistician mathematicians also. So basically it gives you a very simple programming language where whatever we are thinking, we are able to take that out. Now I'll try to take you over there when we'll be talking about little bit of bootstrapping, resampling, and other things, which is extremely important in as applications in ecology, in particularly when we are dealing with small data sets. So in an online mode, I'll try to take up some 3 or 4 case studies and along with their applications, and little bit of and the hands-on thing we'll do. That the file I have provided, their codes are also there, so you can just copy it and paste it. That should work out. And it has become very common practice to see people develop R packages and integrate in their novel development. So increase in R packages. So it is too many, right? So as you can see that it is in 2017, right? And there it was 11,000 packages are there. So now it has crossed more than 17,000. So you can check out the our websites, and so it's a very high rate. So even if you can actually see that today itself there is a package called BaseRig. So how to perform Bayesian regression. And nowadays amongst ecologists, these Bayesian methods are it's been for a long time, but I think now possibly here we have started using using more. And we in fact had and our department still had a small program on this use of Bayesian methods. Yeah. So yet there are something is like with this many new methodology, technological development is happening, like machine learning and deep learning, all these, which requires a large amount of data in many of the times. But ecology has always in particular when we talk about the field ecology, so we do not have really so much of data so that we can apply those modern methods. So till now I think in India it's not yet popular till now, like this use of machine learning and deep learning, these algorithms, when other domains have approached it heavily, but not till now in ecology. Let's see, we'll try our best in future, at least with my other collaborators. So we are thinking of arranging something based on the machine learning and deep learning methods in ecological research. So many new research papers are coming up. So let's see. It's basically a suggested analysis workflow. So what I do actually when I get a data from my, this is the one which is written by this Anna Cristalli, University of Sheffield. So this is something which I also follow when I get the data from my collaborators. So I ask always them the raw data. So please, after cleaning and everything, don't give me that. I want to get a feel of that, how it looks like what are the problems out there, what is that every subsection, every classification has been done properly. So I always ask for a raw data. It could be there are a whole lot of missing values could be, so that's not a problem at all. But before starting, I always ask for raw data. Any cleaning, merging, transforming, etc. data should be done in the script, not manually. This is very, very important. I really don't do this. I rarely use Excel to do that, because this process again will be getting lost. But once I take the raw data, I consider all the process sequentially. I write a program in R and see everything, how things are working, and get a feel of the data. That's the most important before starting up with any analysis. It is very important that we get a feel of the data and split your workflow and scripts into logical thematic units. We'll try to see that. For example, you might separate your code into script that load, merge, clean data, analyze data, produce outputs like figures and tables. So first you load the data, merge and clean whatever you want to do, that's one section gone. Then analyze the data, that's one section gone. And believe me, this is something we have been following, and almost all of our last research papers, even the codes we have written, they are being available in the supporting material. Eliminate code duplication by packaging up useful code into custom functions. So we'll talk a little bit of programming where we can use some custom functions, and make sure to comment your functions thoroughly, explaining their expected inputs and outputs and what they're doing and why. This is, I really want you to emphasize this, because I do follow many of the ecologists across the globe who are writing programs, sharing their codes. With every function, they write a lot of comments. That is very important. Because I worked in an industry for 1 year and I used to write programs there, and we know that even if I write down a function which takes only 2 lines, I had to write 10 lines for that, because after I'm gone, some other people would join into that. There are such 200 functions, so he needs to understand that how we can process it that further. And document your code and data as comments in your scripts or by producing separate documentation. It is very, very important that such a reproducible report, it is going to help you also, possibly your students in future, and any intermediary output generated by the workflow should be kept separate from raw data. So as you can see that this is a guide to reproducible code in ecology and evolution. So this world is actually considering this is very, very seriously. So we should also think of it. But I think that the challenge is changing. The scenario is changing very heavily, in a sense that for the first time when we arranged the workshop in 2014, I think 18 workshop was attended by sir's student, PhD student. Thank you very much, and for attending that program. And then when we meet with the ecologist or biologist or others who are very afraid of us, and we saw that most of the time they used to come with that, I have some data, I'm going to do. It would be very difficult, extremely difficult for us to say, right? I said that. But we asked that, okay, so what is your hypothesis? So for what reason you have collected this data? So no, we have collected this data, but I have to do something with this. If we can do something modeling kind of thing, you need to understand it very carefully that there is an hypothesis that drove you to collect the data, and whether data is supporting that hypothesis. Now, what are the possible techniques, statistical techniques by which we can, whether that hypothesis can be supported or not? If there are 10 options, 10 modeling options or 10 testing hypothesis procedures are available, as an applied scientist, possibly we can help you. We can possibly put some light on that. But it will be really difficult for us to generate the research hypothesis itself by looking into the data itself. So sometimes in many data-driven study, you just collect the data, then you get the insight of the data, then like unsupervised thing. There possibly to some extent it is possible, but in general here it is almost impossible. But fortunately with time we are observing that we are not really getting such questions, and and with this code reproducible of the codes and use of softwares, everybody, all PhD students are with time becoming extremely efficient. In fact, last both of my works on one on the Bayesian statistics with applications in density dependence, and, and another one which hopefully coming soon on species distribution modeling and variable selection. So everything is carried out by a student itself. So, and these are some of the references. So this is just to motivate you all that we are in the right track, and how we can R is exceptionally tremendously useful software, and we can take a whole lot of things. Yeah, and definitely this is a link where I actually utilize this software to also introduce kind of some biological insight to mathematics students. So in our ICT we have a course mathematical biology, which I actually introduced this course, and I take interest in teaching that also, because mathematicians many times think that they are the most intellectual people ever existing in this world. So I somehow agree to disagree with them, and I try to give whatever with my limited knowledge this excellent nice understanding and to them, so that these equations then started becoming more sense to them. Okay, just give me a second. I'll just power on my Okay, so I think we can start with this little bit of coding now. Okay, so everybody can hear me. Any queries till now?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Please stop in between any time. I'm really sorry because I cannot see each of the screen. Okay, so this is the screen that we are having over here, and let us just make ourselves little bit of comfortable. So first of all, whatever the things we are going to do over here, I would urge you to also possibly write this down little bit with me. So the first good practice, the first thing is to set a folder. So whatever we are going to do in today and tomorrow, so we are going to do this is in a folder. And what I do usually, say with my plans at your place, you create some folder. As you can see that here is a folder I am having. So whatever I am going to write down here, you go over here, you copy this, you create a folder. Say I'm creating a folder here, new R codes. This is I am writing. Okay, so I opened it. The folder is now empty. Okay, so I'm going to now I have opened up a new R file. I'm going to save it within this R code folder. So file name, say I'm giving it as a session 29th March 2021. So now I have got within this R codes folder, there is one file. So whatever be the thing I'm going to do here, it's being okay. Now what you do, you have shared one file. There are two files, this algal bloom and multiple linear regression. What you can consider, you can just put this inside this folder. Okay. Okay, everybody is done with it? Yes. At your own location, at your favorite location, you can set up some. Okay. Now, what is the next step? You just click over here. You see that this location completely given over here, and it is being selected. So what I'm doing, I'm copying it, copy, and here I'm writing this SAPWD. So that means set working directory. And I'm putting a double colon, double, and I'm pasting it over here. This is what I have done. Okay. So basically the comment is here. The code is that set WD, and within this you have to give the folder path. Yes, everybody has done this.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Now what you do immediately, that see that all the things in the backward slash, right? So make this backward slash as forward slash. So all the backward slash, make them as forward slash. And then our codes. Yes. Now this is the, if we want to execute it, we just have to select this line, and we have to this run button. You can see that run. Okay. Anybody who could not, for whom it did not run successfully? Right? I tried to remove this. Right? It ran successfully?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, this is when we have a multiple research project, this is very important that we ensure that we are in the right place where our data is being stored. Now, if you write down get WD, if you can write this down only GETW, automatically it shows you some list of functions that came up. So these are known as functions in R available. So get WD returns an absolute file path representing the current working directory. So what is the directory is being set correct or not? You just write down set WD, select it, and run. So yes, I'm in the right one. This is what I'm saying. Okay. So this you can check it whether you are in the right directory. Okay. Now, what are the things that you are in the directory you are having? You can write down this ls and run. So okay, ls says you okay, no problem. Let me ls I'll talk about later. This is your get WD. Okay. Now suppose that first thing is that you have got some kind of data. First thing you want to read that data from the file, right? So suppose that I'm giving this a name as the ALGAE data, so ALGAE, and I'm writing this. It is a CSV file. It was there. So what the file it is shared with you all, it is a CSV file. So it is read.csv. As you can see that there is a function called read.csv. It is a simple trick. I really don't remember them. Read. But whenever writing read, automatically R will understand that what are the functions are available in R that starts with read. So read dot CSV, right? And I have to give the file name. So file is equal to, what is the file name? Let me go back to their file name is algal underscore bloom. Okay. So this algal bloom, I copied the name. So within the inverted comma, I have to give algal bloom, and this is CSV file, right? Dot CSV. And this file also contains the names. So header is equal to true. Right? Now let me execute this line. Yes, it got executed successfully. Everybody could execute it. Yes, is that run successfully?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So please note that R is case sensitive. So that means you need to give the exact name. So if it is capital A or small a, they are going to be different. So if you write down, suppose the same thing, if you write down it as, suppose you made it as, say, instead of B, I give it capital B. I try to still it ran. So let me see what is there in algae. So maybe within the name, possibly they did not distinguish. But let me check over here. Say I'm writing it capital R maybe. So this is a very common mistake what I did. See that it is saying that it could not find a function read.csv. So whether you are writing capital R or small r, it makes a difference. So it has to be read.csv. So now we have got this data. So now whatever the Excel file or the CSV file that you had, things are now being stored inside this algae. Now how we can see what is algae? So first of all, you can write down this function called view. When I'm writing only ALG, automatically it is showing me that there is this some data is there which is called algae. If we view it, again execute this one, you see that some data has come up, right? Everybody is able to see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so we have viewed this data, which turns out to be an algae. So this is data, I think it was available with the package called data mining with R, but I'm not sure whether still that package is available or not. Even with the latest version, I think it is no longer there. But anyway, this data set has been used for demonstration in various places, because one of the reasons is that it contains almost all types of variables. And many experiments actually you can do with this data. So that is the reason. And then we have views algae. So there are some important functions. Some important functions to know about the data. First of all, what are the variables? So if you can write names of algae, it will show you. Execute. These are the variables name. These are the columns that your data set is having, right? Okay. And if you want to access any particular data, say algae, suppose you want to know only about the speed maybe. So algae, if you write down $, automatically what are the variables are there, it will appear here. And whichever you know, whichever you want, maybe I want to know about A1. So this is algae type 1. So if you run it, it will show you all the values, all the measurements that has been taken on this particular type of algae, which is given as A1. So before running any analysis, as we understand what is the good practice, we have to know our data very, very nicely. So what is that? First of all, you need to know how many rows are there, right? So there are functions which is have n row. Say I'm giving algae. If I execute this, that means I have 200 rows in my data. Like this 200 could be 2000 also, it could be 4000, 1 lakh also, right? And similarly, you want to know that how many columns are there. So similarly, in call of algae, these many columns are there in my data. So there are total 18 variables are there and 18 columns are there. There are another function also by using the dimension. So if you give the dimension of algae, so it gives you that its dimension is 200 rows and 18 columns. Okay, so this is basically the variables. This gives you an idea about the data. And now immediately, individually, you possibly want to see all the variables. So first variable, so if I write down this, again I'm writing down this names of algae. As you can see that these are season, size, speed, maximum, right? Max pH and MnO2, Cl, NO3, NH4, and there are these A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7. These are basically what different types of algae. So out of them, say for example, how many seasons are being considered? What are the seasons? So if you want to see about season, algae, dollar, season, right? And these, if you can see that, there are winter, summer, autumn, spring, different are there. No? Now there are different seasons are there, right? So how many unique seasons are there? So there is an interesting function called unique. If you write down algae, dollar, season, that means there are 4 unique seasons are there. So winter, spring, autumn, summer. This function is very useful, at least when I am dealing with the raw data with the data set I got from my collaborator, because many times, although it is winter, but possibly we have written it as capital I. It is human mistake. While collecting the data, we may make some mistake. In some places, we write capital S with summer, and some places we write down small s with a summer. So this type of mistakes being can be considered, like we can correct them. So this is very important steps. That's why these are the. So we have seen that these are the unique. And what are the other variables? Say unique. We can also see for other variables. Say algae, say size. These are small, medium, and large. I think this is the size of the. I think there are something 200 water bodies they have considered, and out of them some water bodies are small, some water bodies are medium, some water bodies are large, right? And similarly other unique algae, and it is I think speed. This is also like medium, high, low, the flow in the water body. What is the it is high flowing or low flowing or medium flowing, as you can see that. But if we observe this data, so as we know that all these three variables that we are having here, they all are, you know it already, right? What is called category, right? So this basically talks about the categories. So they are not really numeric in nature. So if we see that, there is a nice function called class, which is very important. And if we write down algae, dollar, season, it is coming as a character. So when there is a character, they are being automatically considered as a categorical variable. Now, right? So before going into, similarly, you can see this class of algae, dollar, size. This is also character and the class of algae, dollar, and speed. So this is also, you can see, this is also character, right? Now it is very important that individually you can see everything, or you can also just see a summary of algae, dollar, season. It says you that what is the length? It is 200 length. It is character, it is character, right? And there are 3 uniques. So that information is not coming. Take it up. Okay, so using this summary also you can get some basic information about it. So these are all categorical variables. So these are, yes, please.
Yes, please.
Sir, can you repeat 10th one?
Yes. Yes, please.
The 10th one.
Here.
10. Yes. Algae. $.
Okay. So this was basically the description for the for a numeric variable. This is just to show you that how from the data we can extract individual variables, individual columns. So using this dollar symbol. Right? Okay, so okay. Now it might happen that so you want to get a complete summary of the data at one goal. So this is most important function in R. So you may possibly skip this part. You skip this part and write down over here. Then write down this summary. Everybody please write down this summary. Just write down algae. And run this one. And this, just everybody just write down this code, this piece of line which I have selected, line number 27. Summary of algae. This is something you have got. Everybody has got this? Yes. So see that A1, A2, A3. As you can see that A1, A2, A3, these basically are written as a numeric variable. As you can see that these are being considered as a numerical variable. And there is a mean values, there is a max values, there is a third quartile, what is the first quartile, what is the median value, every information is there about it, right? So basically at a single goal, at a single try, you get the information about all the variables. But look at this over here, that for example this season, size, max pH, we have seen their characters. But what about max pH, MnO2, Cl? These are also coming up as a character, right? Everybody got this same summary over in your PC? Anyone, please, yes or no?
Is it for size, sir?
This is the, you have run this code? Summary of algae, and in the console you have got this output.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Now let us see that, because this is a problem which every time we come across. So max pH. Let me see this variable max pH. Everybody please write down algae dollar max pH. And execute it. If you can see that with this max pH, what is the problem? Can you see? Can you see that what is the problem over here? That with all the variables, all the values, all these values are actually in numerical values, but they are being coded as characters. Okay, let me write this down. All the numerical values are coded as characters. Can anybody tell me why is this case?
Because it is written double quotes.
Yes.
Because it is contained in double quotes.
Yes. It is being converted to the double colon. But the reason is actually this quantity. Can you see that there are some cross signs are coming up?
Yes, sir.
This is the value. So this is the value. The experimenter who has done that experiment, he has considered this is the symbol as missing value. So when he put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cross sign, he considered this as a missing value. So, but R did not understand, did not consider this as a missing value. It considered this as a character itself, right? So that means he converted this whole array or the whole column into character vectors. Is it clear? So we need to ensure that missing values are considered while loading the data, right? Now what is the possibility how we can remove this particular line? So this line contains the missing value, right? Let me copy this quantity, that this is the missing value. Right? Now let me find out that in my data, this 200 of data, where this particular quantity is present. Say for example, algae dollar max pH, right, is equal to I'm writing down this quantity. Please write this down with me. So algae dollar max pH equal to this 7, this I am writing it, okay, and you execute this line. So as you can see that there are a lot of false and lot of false are coming up, right? But there is one true also if you see it properly, right? So that means for every row it is going to print you true or false, right? And where it has found out that true, that means that particular row is going to contain this particular line. So that means this 40, say for example, is 46, 47 and 48. So 48 number row, it contains this particular missing value. Is that clear? So we can possibly hello, yes. Okay, so from here we can see that this is the particular row which contains this missing value, which is this particular. So which row that you need to drop it out from here, algae. So if you write down this algae dollar max pH, suppose you are talking about only analyzing going to this particular row, so then how you can write this down? Algae dollar max pH minus 36. Right? So this is, I'm just writing it maybe something new variable, say my new max pH. I don't want to disturb my original data. Okay, so I'm writing a new max pH. Right? So then you execute it. Then now you write down what is new underscore max pH. This is the new variable that you are having, right? And you print it. Now see that there is no this particular, still it is appearing over here. So instead of 36, I wrote down 46. Extremely sorry. See? It was 46, 47, 48. Okay. So I'm writing as a 48. So I'm just writing this down over here. And what is new max pH? As you can see that here, this particular missing entry is not there. Right? So this is now still, if you look at this class of this value, so class means what type of data it is. So new underscore max pH, as you can see it, still it is coming as a character. The reason is very simple. Although I have removed what one is missing, but still this double colon is there, so that means it is still in a character mode only. So if I want to find it out into a numeric mode, so new underscore max pH, then as dot numeric, this is a very, very important function, new underscore max pH. Write it down, and now you print your new underscore max pH. As you can see it, now these are no longer as a character. Right? I'm assuming that this session is being recorded. So yes, this is being recorded. Right? So what? Yes, please. Just take 1 minute so that you can write it down. Is that done?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now you can see that pH that you have got, there is no character, so it is now numeric. You can check it also. Class new underscore mxph, which is now a numeric. So now you can play with this particular variable in the way we can think of. Okay, so I think this is what is expected when we are saying that, when we in the suggested reading where we have what the scientists have written, that this particular step for which variable we should do the data processing step. Got it? So this is something which needs to be done for each of the variables. But all of you must be wondering, sir, if R is so efficient, so nice, why actually we are going to do all these things in our what is the need of? Because it is going to take whole lot of piece of code, right? It will be very difficult. And actually, this is one of the reason that why I actually prefer it. The reason is that this gives me a much more feeling and understanding about the data. Because when we are doing any kind of statistical analysis, the first thing is that we need to have a great, like as much as possible, feel about the data you can get. Now, without all those trouble, how we can do it? Without everything. So possibly all these things that you don't need to do. Only with one line things can be handled. So how can it be? Everybody write with me, algae. Write with me, everyone. Algae is equal to, there is a nice function called read.table. Right? Just write down it, and before running this, don't execute it. Don't execute it. So what you write down, that help read.table. Execute this particular line. That help read.table. Right? Can you see that you have got some help about it, that you can read files about this, right? Right? So this is how actually for every function R does provide a help file. So this is basically the basic syntax for it, and immediately you can, at the end, you can see some kind of a help file also over here, right? So that read dot, they have using read.csv, read dot this, right? So there are a little bit of help file also available. But one important thing is here, this particular comment. Note that here, na.strings. na.strings. Now let me write this down. What is the file you want to read? Write step by step with me. It is algal underscore bloom, right? .csv. This is the file that you want to read, right? And header is equal to, so you want these names also to be printed. Header is equal to true, right? Now these scientists who have collected this data, they have considered missing values with 7x, right? 7 cross sign, right? So you write down this na.strings. Within this, you write down, to give this, within this string, you give this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Right. Let me see. First of all, this is actually how we learn. Let us first run it. Let's see. If there is some error comes up, we are going to rectify it. Let's. Everybody has written down this part. Select it. Execute it. Fortunately, we did not get any kind of error. Let us see what is there in algae now. There is a data. So if we give this data, we can just get a view of this algae data. View algae. See that what we have got. Is the data got loaded properly? Anyone? Is that the same? No, right?
The same output we got, sir.
You have got the same. Are you sure? Oh, the same output.
The same output.
Okay. So, but this is not the right output, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yeah.
what is the problem that we have got here? So that is why when we are dealing with R, the initial learning curve is little bit steep. So what is saying, it is the file name, then header, and there is something called separator, right? That what kind of separate? It is a comma separated file, right? So whether this is going to give us any kind of solution or not, let us see. So SCP is equal to, let's see, a comma separated file. Again, let us execute this file. Now something is happening, error in the file that cannot open the connection. It is saying that there is no such file or directory. So it does not understand it. So what I have done here, I erased that .csv file. Let me again run it. It is now running successfully. Now let us again view this. Everybody got this now? So let me show the code over here again. Please make it happen. So this is the code. What I have done here, separated equal to comma. So it is actually CSV file. Now read.table, this function will understand it is a comma separated file. This part is very important because this is where is the main difficulty that that arise by the participants. I wish I could be there. But this is the line which I want you all to successfully run.
We got it.
They got the output?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now please, what I'm doing, just do it right now. Now write down this. Let us analyze this data. Say, write down this algae dollar and the max pH, the same variable. Write this down and print it. Execute it. Executed. Everybody executed this? Just probably share my this screen so that I can just view it. Yes, everybody has printed this max algae dollar max pH.
Yes, sir.
And let us take this class, that algae dollar max pH. Now it is numeric. Now we have utilized here 37 lines. If you can see that here, 37 lines. This is what we have utilized, only 4 or 5 lines. And max pH came as a numeric variable only, right?
Yes, sir.
This is one of the, believe me, this is one of the very important one in reading the data. Most of the problem what I receive over the email, most of the problem is actually there is a trouble in reading the data, because we use different symbols to understand what is a missing value, either some formatting is not proper, and most of the time we actually make a problem in reading the data. That is why I give a special emphasis on this, that whether you have a data in Excel format or a tabulated format, whatever it is, every time you convert it to a CSV format, there are at least 13 many ways I know to read the data, but this is I have found out the most useful. That read.table, you store your data either in text format or in CSV format, and whatever the missing values, that the missing value indication which you have done passes in the na.strings. Now R will understand this is a missing value and it will give you not available. Now if you see this max pH data, it has coming up NA values. Okay, R has now understood this. This string, whenever I fetch this string in my Excel file, in the CSV file, I am going to consider this as a not available. Now whole lot of function is available to you. Is.na, algae, max pH. There are a whole lot of things. Is.na's function is takes which are the missing values. If you write down which, right, now you want to know that which one is missing. So which is
Hello.
dot
Hello.
na algae dollar max pH. It is telling you that 48th row which is missing over here.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, I am here to the 43 row.
Sorry. Can you please say again?
Yes, sir. Actually,
Everything is located in the 43 row. The view algae.
Okay, then the view algae. Yes. This is the, if you want to view this data.
Yeah.
So this is how you have viewed it.
Yes. I got it. That, sir.
after that we want some help.
The algae $MXBH. That there is a problem, sir.
Here you got error. Okay. So what you do, you just write down these two lines you ran correctly, right?
Yeah.
And then just write down ALG. You press enter. Don't write down the name. Press enter. Okay. And then write down dollar. You don't write down on your own. So you come down and press enter. And execute only this line.
You got?
It ran successfully.
We are working on it.
Acha, if you have the screen sharing facility, you can also share with the screen. I can immediately check it out. I think, can you share your screen? Is it possible for you?
We can't share your screen, sir, as of now.
Okay. Okay, seems it is not resolved yet.
Sir, give us a minute. We'll come back.
Okay. So for others, this line what?
For others, it's okay. Sir.
Okay, okay. Actually, I think what is the maximum possibility is that your small x become capital X or something. Some of this error possibly happened, or the first line did not execute properly. So this is the line which is this line is not executed correctly.
Sir, got resolved.
Sir, it got resolved, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Actually,
thank you.
in the code, he didn't type the separate equal to quotation. In that thing, he didn't done.
Okay.
Now it is
Yeah,
resolved.
that's what I was thinking. That's why first question I asked them whether that previous line executed correctly or not. Otherwise, yeah, no problem. I completely understand. It happens. So no issue. So now you can see that easily that you can is.na or which is.na. This is the very important function in R, which talks you that which particular row, for which particular row I have max pH is missing. So similarly, the same thing you can do for which is.na. For other columns also you can do, for which MnO2 is missing or not. For MnO2, there are two rows, which is 38th row and 62nd row, which is missing. Similarly, you can do for which is.na. Now your life is very easy. Algae $CL. So for CL, so many missing values are there. So there are many missing values in case of when you are talking about this data of, I think CL maybe chlorine possibly, right? So it is a nice data. It is a nice data for practical experience, right? That you want your data to be as bad as possible so that we can do more and more experiment on this, right? Now immediately the question arises to you all. So for each of the variable, I am going to see that which row is missing, which is not missing. I should get, again, I want to know which are the rows for which at least one predictor, one variable is missing. So I want to know when the rows for which at least one variable information is missing, right? So there is another very nice function. Please write it down. Exclamatory sign, complete dot cases. Exclamatory sign, complete dot cases. Everybody write this down. Inside, write it down, algae.
Sailesh asked.
Yes.
Sir, 48, this thing MnO2.
MnO2. There is a variable also called in the data, right?
It is showing integer 0.
Yes. For you, MnO2 showing integer 0.
It is showing integer 0.
Is this showing 38 and 62 in your case? No?
No.
Okay. So I think here you have done some mistake in writing this. Just check it out, the exact thing. I think O is capital. Note that O is capital here.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
What is it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So best thing actually, see that, please everybody please know, give a note over here that actually I am not typing anything. I'm just putting a dollar and automatically things are coming, and I'm coming over here and pressing enter. That's it. So it actually minimizes the number of errors.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir, can we have a short break, 5 minutes break, and resume, sir? The part for the participants, tea has snacks and tea has been arranged, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. No problem. But can I just take 2 minutes? Just in 2 minutes,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just doing.
Sure, sir.
Yes. I just want you to write this particular line. That's it. This is the last line. I will just write it down.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Sorry. Next is that write down which, and inside you put everything. That is the last line. I want to write it down and execute. You all also should get these same numbers. This is the last line. I just wanted to write it down. Everybody has got these numbers? So whatever, so as a conclusion, whatever be the size of the data that from the field you are collecting, this data processing, pre-processing of data must be very neatly done. Even if a small missing values is going to make your model a blunder. So just to give you an example, in our last workshop, one of the candidate, when species distribution modeling workshop, one of the candidate was from National Institute of Oceanography. You all know it. It has a center in Mumbai, and is also, and he was analyzing the species assemblage in his data, and some of the very nice packages he was using, but he was not really getting the answer, and somewhere got the wrong. And after after 3 months, he said me that sir, one day I want to come to you and visit you. I need your help seriously. There's no problem. So one day he came, and you won't believe that within 10 minutes his problem is solved. His name is Shatayu. I think many of you probably know him. He's one of the scientific officer in there. And he just did not read the data, the specific format the package was asking for. It is not read properly. It was asking for a matrix in a specific form, but he was providing it a data frame, and which one first column is had to format in such a way. He was not doing that. So when he came, that his problem actually being solved in 5 minutes. So this is why, from my this experiential learning, I thought that we should definitely spend little bit of time on this pre-processing, because this is where most of us we get stuck. Once we have things are ready, running into packages and functions, existing whole lot of codes are available, that's not a problem. But main challenges come up, how actually we are processing our data and coming into the final form. So okay, so I think we'll take the break, and then after 10 minutes we'll assemble, or 10 or 15 minutes, whatever the time being assigned. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.